Manx Radio Sport.
Good evening and welcome once again to Friday Sport Preview on Manx Radio. Rob Pritchard with you until 6:30. Hope you've had a wonderful week as always. Coming up tonight, the new Manx football season is finally here and we take a look at the opening fixtures of the 22-23 campaign taking place this Saturday. Meanwhile, FC Isle of Man are back on Manx soil tomorrow after a gruelling run of away fixtures and will be hoping to get back to winning ways when they welcome Barnoldswick Town to the Bowl. In hockey, an exciting weekend awaits for the Manx junior squads as they travel to take on top opposition in Northern Ireland. And the new rugby season also rolls back into life this weekend. That is all to come this evening. So starting off a jam-packed schedule this evening, we're taking a look at hockey, and the new mixed season is very close now, just over a week away in fact. But before then, it's an exciting challenge for the island's junior squads taking place this Saturday and Sunday. And to talk us through this just a little bit, we're welcomed by a newer face this time around in that of Ben Cunningham. So Ben, very good evening to you.
Good evening, thank you very much for having us.
So Ben, for those who don't know what is happening this weekend in terms of Manx hockey, particularly those juniors, what have we got going on this weekend?
So basically the under-14s, under-16s, under-18s, boys and girls island teams are going away to Belfast, and they're going to have a pre-season games at a very, very, very top quality place, and the pitches, I've been told, is very high quality.
And the great thing is when you have games like this as an island squad, whether at junior or senior level, going into a new season, because these younger players might be looking towards their island teams going into the next season, whether that's at junior or senior level, and looking towards, the national championships later on. How invaluable can experience like this be at such a young age?
Oh, definitely. I mean, like you say, some of these players that are playing in these teams have come straight from the under-14s and they've worked their way up. And it's a credit to the island to have them, and the future of hockey on the island looks bright.
And it's been a bit of a purple patch this summer, really, for Manx hockey, isn't it? Because not just this, but also the fact that we saw, I believe it was 7 Manx players were involved in the Performance Centre Challenge Cup as well.
Yeah, there was 7 players that took part in the Performance Cup, and they went away to represent the island, and they received very high reviews from the coaches across there.
For those who don't know, the Performance Centre Challenge Cup involves a selection of what are known as performance centres across England in different regions, whether that's county or slightly larger geographical areas, and the nearest one to the Isle of Man is Fylde, and it is basically a way of bringing through the up-and-coming talent of any given area across England, the Isle of Man and beyond as well, and giving them the chance to play against equally skilled and equally capable young players to build their abilities but also be exposed to some of the top-level coaching, top-level disciplines. And Ben, as you pointed out there, 7 players from the Isle of Man involved in that. It just shows the quality that Manx hockey continues to produce, doesn't it?
Oh, definitely. I mean, we're a small island, but it just proves that no matter how much people think, oh, it's a small island, the Isle of Man, we can produce fantastic hockey players.
And there was a slight bit of disappointing news, I guess, right at the start of the evening before we came on air, because the junior squads that are actually heading to Northern Ireland, well, they were heading off today, but there's been a bit of a hitch, hasn't there?
Yes, so they were due to be up in the air as we speak. We were hoping to have Neve, who's been helping plan all this, up, but obviously they were due to be taking off and flying away as we speak. But unfortunately, they're currently still sat in Ronald's Way waiting for the plane to take off. I believe the update I've had now is 8:10, possibly departing now. But fingers crossed they'll get away.
Absolutely, fingers crossed. I'm sure it'll all be worked out and they can enjoy some great hockey over the weekend. And just one final question before we let you go. The fact that these junior players are being able to build their capabilities, but what does it say also about those here in Manx hockey that are involved in the coaching and management side of things? Because actually organising things like this takes a lot of time, a lot of effort around what they do. A lot of credit has to go to these people as well, doesn't it?
Oh yeah, definitely. There's a lot of people behind the scenes that are planning all this, prepping it and everything, the coaches, the back, like I say, there's hundreds, there's loads of people I could name, and I'll probably forget people, but there is so many people that help plan all this, arrange all the hotels, arrange the travel, because it's not just a simple case of, right, we're going this weekend, it's got to be planned weeks and weeks in advance, and we've got to get all players' availability, get them all booked and everything. And it's a credit to the people that give up their time to prepare and get this all set and ready to go. And they're in for such a fantastic weekend away, providing they get off island.
Like we say, we wish them the very best of luck, and hopefully all these things will be worked out well. Best of luck to all the Manx Junior squads. And Ben, I know you have to shoot off now, but thank you very much, and hopefully we'll be catching up with you very soon.
Thank you very much.
Manx Radio Sport.
Well, we're moving on to football now, and the 22-23 Manx football season is set to get underway proper this weekend. Teams across the Canada Life Men's Premier League, Division 2, Canada Life Combi 1 and Combi 2 will get their campaigns underway with the first round of fixtures on Saturday the 3rd of September. Among the ties, we'll have a look at those in just a second, but some very interesting ones, including the return of some old faces to the Manx footballing leagues as well. And he's back after what feels like a lifetime away to take us through it. Tony Mepham, very good evening to you.
How are we? Have you missed me?
Absolutely, always.
Oh, good man.
Always.
Well I listened to you on the bikes and everything else. Absolutely brilliant. You've had a good summer.
Very, very enjoyable, very exciting. Loved every minute of it. Well, away from the bikes, let's get to the football anyway, because, big to see the Manx footballing season coming back this weekend. We have a selection of fixtures coming up. Before we get into the specifics, there was an announcement by the Isle of Men FA today just regarding the teams that would be taking part this year. Could you just clarify what that was for us again?
Yeah, I can. Certainly in the Premier League, we've got a full house, so there's no problems in there. Division 2, there was sort of a little bit of consultation with the clubs because some of the clubs have been struggling to be able to field 2 teams. So Pulrose have only got 1 team, so that's in combination 2. We've got Governors Athletic, who are in Division 2. There's a little bit of talk with them, but I watched them play the other night, and I think Div 2 is the right place, but we'll see how it goes for them. Also with Malou, they've lost an awful lot of players, Rob, to St Mary's, and it's left a lot of spaces for them. So they've opted to go into combination 2. I know that 1 or 2 people out there are going to say this shouldn't be allowed to happen. But when you look at it last year, and I know you've taken note of it, was Colby. There's just no way that they could have played in Div 2. They played in Combi 2 only. They finished 9th. But my word, what a recoup they've done this summer. They've got 2 teams entered in the league this year. And by all accounts, they've only dipped into 2 players from other clubs, which is absolutely fantastic. So well done to them, and also well done to St Mary's, Rob. I know we'll come to that one at length a little bit in a minute, but to get 2 teams in and back into the league is incredible.
Great stuff for Manx football. Always good to have, extra bodies in there, extra teams. Just builds the excitement, doesn't it? Let's take a look then at the fixtures this weekend. And we have 5 fixtures, so all fixtures bar 1, which we'll come to, are kicking off at 2:30pm on Saturday. We'll start with 5 fixtures in the Canada Life Men's Premier League.
Yeah, and when you look at the fixtures coming up this week, there's some really interesting ones, but there's no real transfers. I think we've only had 4 transfers because now it's different the way the rules are that the English FA have put on us, that the players have the freedom to move at the start and they can register for whoever they want. So the games that we're looking at, Union Mills against Douglas Royal. New manager coming in for Union Mills. We'll give him an announcement tomorrow in the sports programme at 12:30. But Douglas Royal as well have got a really good team. Should be a close battle. It's going to be a real tough game to make a decision on this one. But at the moment, I'm saying that it's going to be Douglas Royal. Moran against Laxey. Laxey have been busy in registering some really top players. Great to see Tom Smith come back in. I think it's 2 or 3 years since he's played. Superb player that he is. And also Sammy Galling, top boxer, has transferred down there as well. But, Moran have had reasonable pre-season and they'll be looking to see if they can beat Laxey. Onken against St George's. Onken, one of the newly promoted sides against St George's, who, to be fair, Rob, have had a torrid time with their players. And my thanks to Johnny Myers and, anybody out there who wants, few mentions tomorrow with team news or whatever. If you've got my number, just text it through to me and we'll try and give them a mention. But Johnny's on the ball, and there's 1 or 2 sort of real class players coming back in, and shocks they're going to be all round. Callum Morrissey's going to play for St George's tomorrow. Julian Ringham's going to sit this one out. He's got a little bit of a niggling injury. But Sam Kane, the FC Isle of Man right fullback, is not playing for FC Isle of Man tomorrow, and he's going to play for St George's. So St George's are going to make it difficult for them. Corinthians is against Peel. Torrid pre-season for Corinthians, so interested to see where this one goes. If they've got the players back from holiday and weddings and stuff, they could be strong. But Peel have got one or two really good players in there, and the form of Rhys Oates is going to be critical for Peel, I feel. Ramsey against Russian, they bagged one trophy already, haven't they? These two are going to be right in the mix for winning the league. I think Russian will just pip it. And Ayr against St John's. Ayr lost their talisman in Sean Kelly, and I don't think he'll play tomorrow because he's in for FC Isle of Man. But St John's really impressed me a couple of weeks ago against us, absolutely battered us, and I'm looking forward to see how they get on in the Canada Life Premier League this year.
Okay, then moving on, we've got 4 games, I believe, in Division 2.
We have got 4 games, and a little mention, Rob, I know it's hot off the press, but a new sponsor who's come in, and our big thanks to Paul Whitley and Dale Walker. Those names are famous in Manx football. They've got a cracking building business, and they've come together. DPS Limited, Division 2 it's going to be named, and congratulations to everybody for making this come to fruition, because it's so important to keep the pennies in the bank for Manx football. But D&D against Gyms, Douglas and District are back up at Springfield Road. They're off the bowl, so I'm going to go for D&D just to beat Gyms. Foxdale against Colby. Foxdale have lost 2 of their top goal scorers, but I think they should just be strong enough to beat Dickie Gale's team. Braddon against St Mary's, the young guns against the more experienced, but St Mary's have got some squad there, so St Mary's I expect to take the points. As I say, Governors Athletic against Paul Rose. Paul Rose aren't in Div 2. Malou against Michael, also the same there, so Michael will have to wait a week. And Ramsey Youth Centre against Douglas Athletic. Ramsey Youth Centre relegated. They should be strong enough to take the points away from Athletic.
Okay, and then let's look at the combination divisions. Canada Life Combi 1, we have 5 games there.
Yeah, this one's going to be really tough to predict, but Douglas Royal against Union Mills, I was impressed a couple of weeks ago when I watched the Millers Combi as well, so I'm going to go for Mills. I think the young guns there will just manage the points away from Royal. Laxey against Moran, I know Laxey, a few players missing with holidays and stuff, so Moran might just have an opportunity to take the points away from them in that one. St George's against Doncan, obviously St George's aren't in Combi 1. Peel against Corinthians, Peel are always strong. Corinthians very young with 1 or 2 old heads in to make the team up, so I'm going to go for Peel there. Russian against Ramsey, I would say Russian will start off as slight favourites for this league, but Ramsey have got good players in that team, so wait and see how that one goes. And St John's against Ayr, St John's champions of Combi 2 last season, and I think they're going to do well in Combination 1 this season.
Okay, and then last but certainly not least, there is 4 games in Combi 2, and one of those does have an earlier start, doesn't it? We were going to come to that.
Yeah, it does, and let's go to that one first. St Mary's against Braddon. This one's being played at the Bowl. Why the early start? FC Isle of Man's kickoffs now, Rob, have been brought forward to 6. So by rule, the bowl has to be clean, vacated, changing rooms emptied and washed as well by 4 o'clock. So that's why we're going for 1:45. That will sort of happen throughout the season. Yes, there's an opportunity possibly to go a little bit later if FC Isle of Man away, but we'll work on that one. But Gyms against Douglas and District, I'm going to go for D&D to win that. Colby against Foxdale, great to see the players back in. Don't know anything about them, so I can't predict if they're going to win it. So we'll go with Foxdale, play safe. St Mary's against Braddon, 2 strong sides there for St Mary's, so I expect them to win that one. And then when you look at the other teams, Paul Rose against Governors. Governors don't have a combination side. And then Michael against Malou. Michael have had a great pre-season, and I'm going to keep an eye on them because I think they're going to do all right, Rob. And then you've got the other team, Douglas Athletic against Ramsey Youth Centre. Athletic don't have a combination side, so there you have.
Absolutely. Well, our first roundup ahead of the new season. It's always good, isn't it?
I'm looking forward to it. This has been really tough because, we've been working with the clubs at the FA and trying to help them where we can, but we can't drag players in. People are saying we should restructure the league. All I look at it is, we've got 3 teams in this year that we didn't have last year. Okay, we've lost some this year. So I think it's harder to rebuild like St Mary's have done. That's absolute credit to them. And Colby as well, one of the best facilities on the island. A real kick in the teeth for them last season, but they've bounced back. So I wish everybody well. We'll go into more detail tomorrow at 12:30. But as I say, if you've got any information for us, text it in to me and I'll try and give them a mention tomorrow afternoon.
Perfect. Well, sticking with football very briefly, FC Isle of Man will be looking to get back to winning ways tomorrow evening when they're back at the Bowl to face Barnoldswick Town in the NWCFL Premier Division. The Ravens are back on Manx soil after a gruelling schedule on the road, which saw them play 4 games away from home in just 10 days. Their last 2 matches saw them suffer 2 heavy defeats at the hands of Congleton Town and AFC Liverpool on the bank holiday weekend. Well, I spoke to manager Chris Bass this week, and that full extended interview is available over at manxradio.com right now, looking back on those busy games during the bank holiday and also ahead to this weekend. And if you're not heading down to the Bowl on Saturday, we at Manx Radio have got you covered. FC Isle of Man versus Barnoldswick Town, kick-off 6 p.m. this Saturday, and we at Manx Radio providing full live match commentary, myself and Tony, on Manx Radio's AM 1368 and digital platforms. We'd love to have you along. Well, Tony, we've got around 60 seconds here. What have you made of FC Isle of Man's start to the season so far, bearing in mind they've gone up a league and it's been a big step up in quality and opponent?
Well, it has been a big step up, and when I was talking to Alex Maitland in the week, he was telling me that the player he played against on Saturday, and in his words, give him a run around, £700 a week he earns, and an ex I think it was championship player, so it shows you the quality that they're playing at. But the crowds have been a little bit lower because we're into the summer months here, so people have got a lot to do. So big, massive shout out. Let's get down there and support them. It's costing a lot of money to make this happen, but key players missing, Rob, isn't it? When you look at, Dan Simpson, Sean Doyle's probably going to miss most of the season. It's really tough, but the boys are hanging in there. They're finding their feet, and let's just hope they have a massive performance tomorrow night on the Isle of Man.
We will see tomorrow night at the Bowl. Well, Tony, thank you very much as always. I'll be catching up with you tomorrow.
You certainly will.
Manx Radio Sport.
Well, wrapping things up, football isn't the only sport on Manx soil getting its new season underway this weekend. Rugby is also making its much-anticipated return. Douglas are on the road for their first game of the campaign in the newly badged Regional 2 North West Division. Meanwhile, on Ireland, the Ravenscroft Manx Shield is back in action. As ever, here to take us through what's in store is Dave Christian.
Well, the first thing is, obviously, during the closed season in any sport, particularly in rugby union, though, there are always some change arounds. There's been a long-running civil war, as I call it. I'm not sure anybody else has got a better way to describe it, between clubs in the northwest, which are basically 3 counties, Cheshire, Cumbria and Lancashire. And the big battle's been with Lancashire and Cumbria. Cheshire have been in the middle, trying to act as peacemakers. And I don't know, about 3 seasons ago now, there was about 34 Lancashire clubs pulled out of the English Clubs Championship, which is what everybody refers to as the league. That left a sizable hole and meant that, notwithstanding COVID and all the things that came with it, there weren't any leagues for Douglas and Vagabonds to play in. Now, the peace deal's been brokered over the summer, finally come to fruition. The Lancashire clubs are back in. We've got some viable leagues. Douglas were back in anyway. They weren't really affected by the problem. Vagabonds are going back in. They don't have a fixture, I don't think, for another 2 weeks yet. And Ramsey decided that discretion was a better part of valour, and financially it just didn't make sense to join in that league structure. So Douglas play their first game tomorrow. They're away at Furwood Waterloo. Personally, I think they're going to struggle, but that remains to be seen. They've got a committed bunch of youngsters down there together with some old experienced heads, and they may well pull out a few surprises, and I'll be the first one to have a hat sandwich if they do. But tomorrow, Furwood Waterloo, they've got a young team, but experience. In the front row, Simon Hoddenott and Rob Todd. Owen Carvin is there as well. He had a great season last season. Youngsters in the second row. In the back row, they've got experience with Carl Markle Ferns and 2 youngsters, Blake Snell and Cal Dentith. The back line looks pretty good. Guy Wood's back in. He's an immense player. Harry Hewson's there too. One of the Martin brothers, Kyle Martin at fullback. Aidan O'Shea, an experienced 10. I mean, they've got players there, and particularly on a firm pitch, to get the ball wide and score tries. But I think Furwood Waterloo might be just a bridge too far for them. Waterloo may well have promotion ambitions this season. And on that basis, I don't think we're going to see Douglas come back with the points. Domestically, there have been some changes as well. Obviously, with Vagabonds not taking part, it's caused some concern to the local organisers, and there's had to be a few changes made. First thing is, welcome back to Castletown Rugby Club. They're back in after a season out. Great to have them back. And that helps with making up the numbers. But we've got a 7-team local league. And unfortunately, locally, there's a big gap between the teams at the top and the teams at the bottom. So we've had to do something to address that. And Ramsey and Southern Nomads, who are the 2 strongest sides left in, they're both running 2 teams, a first team and a second team. They've agreed to shuffle all their players up to put out 2 teams that aren't as good as the full-on first teams, but are probably better than a full-on second team. So it's going to make the league very, very competitive. We're relying on a little bit of trust for the teams to do this fairly as well. It's no fun winning 100-0. It's no fun losing 100-0. I can assure you of that. I've experienced it. So I think it's a sensible move. We'll have to wait and see how the results come when they start happening. And the other news locally is that neither Douglas nor Vagabonds, with their league commitments, have felt comfortable enough to have a full second team. So the two have basically got half a team each. They're going to put them half together and play under the umbrella of the Eastern Barbarians. So the first round of fixtures tomorrow, it's the Ravenscroft Manx Shield, first past the post league competition. Up at Ramsey, we've got the Ramsey Reds, which is their one of their slightly weaker teams, against Western Vikings. That's at Merrick Park. At Ballafletcher, we've got the Eastern Barbarians. They play their first game against Castletown, who's their first game back as well. And the other game is Southern Nomads, and I think they're calling themselves Nomads Greens. That was their former first team. They're going to play the Ramsey Blues down at Ballakilya. All those games kick off at 2:15. Picking winners, difficult to say. You've got to fancy Ramsey Reds against Western Vikings. Vikings blew hot and cold last season. Ramsey were pretty hot all the way through. Up at Ballafletcher, difficult one to call. Depends on Castletown's strength, but you probably fancy the combined Eastern Barbarians. Might just nick that one. And down at Ballakilya, I think you're probably going to go with the Southern Nomads Greens to beat the Ramsey Blues.
Dave Christian with that report there. That's all we have time for this evening. So once again, very good big thank you to my guests this week, Ben Cunningham, Tony Mepham and Dave Christian. That's all for Friday Sport Preview this week. Have yourself a wonderful Friday evening, whatever you're doing, and have a wonderful weekend as well. So until next time, bye for now.
The nation's